Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another council meeting here in the chambers for Monday, April 13th. I'm going to call the meeting to order and invite everyone to stand for O Canada. And now I'm going to invite Councillor Bell to read our land acknowledgement.
We would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas and Nawash unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis people and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Councillor, and I'll just invite everyone to join us in a moment of silent reflection on our business today. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Councillor Yurick.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I will be recusing myself for 11.2A, which is the Deputy Mayor's motion regarding the TIF to MIF motion. I am on that board and will be stepping aside.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder to everyone else, if something occurs to you that you have an interest in something, please bring it forward at that time. Announcements. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there's a few things to talk about today with your indulgence, but I certainly have to start by talking about this past weekend and the Docks on Ice event. First of all, thanking staff for maintaining the ice, which was in great shape, but definitely I want to acknowledge Nisa and Jessica and Holly from Communications, who were there all weekend and who really put their heart and soul into organizing this event. It was incredibly well done, and we heard many comments from doctors and students that there was no other community that provided hospitality like Meaford did. We really went above and beyond, and believe me, that was noticed and appreciated. So well done to staff. There's a lot to share, but there were between 900 and 1,000 doctors participating in this tournament. Meaford, of course, was not the only arena that they used. They were in Wasaga and Collingwood and Thornbury and so on. But we did have the privilege of hosting the 60 med students that were here on Saturday for a brunch at the fire hall, and we had opportunity to speak with them and are very pleased to report that these days apparently about half of the students are going into family medicine, which is terrific. And we actually talked amongst us to 4 or 5 who expressed some interest in Meaford, in getting more information or in potentially coming back to work with one of our teaching doctors. And I spoke to one who was interested in military medicine. So it was a very, very successful event. And again, I want to definitely express appreciation to everybody who made this happen. And my second announcement is from the Meaford Rotary Club. The annual Baggy Community Spring Cleanup is upcoming on May the 2nd, and we invite people to gather at the Harbor Pavilion for 10 a.m. There will be a waiver to sign, and gloves and bags will be provided. And if you know of an area that you want to clean up, then we'll get that marked on the map. And if you are open, then the members of the Rotary Club can assist you with choosing an area to clean. And I just also want to acknowledge Miller Waste, who are providing the bin for us this year, so that's appreciated. And I wanted to mention as well, again, that doggy bags is the #1 thing that we pick up in the spring, and we really wish that people would not toss their dog bags, that they would wait until they can place them into a proper waste receptacle. And lastly, on behalf of the Riverside Board, I wanted to announce that they have openings for about 3 new board members. This is a great group, and as everybody knows, they do the breakfast at Riverside between Mother's Day and Thanksgiving, and they are terrific and really well done. It's a fun group to work with, and if anybody is interested, they can reach out to myself or to Suzanne Wassell at the Meaford Independent, and her phone number is 416-995-6057, or S Wassell, that's SWUSSOW at the meafordindependent.ca. And you don't need to necessarily live, in proximity to the Riverside Hall. If anybody in the community is interested in volunteering to support this great organization, please reach out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple, and I will first, though, just echo Deputy Mayor's comments. The Docks on Ice was really, really well done, and it appears really appreciated by everyone who attended. And I just wanted to echo the thanks to staff, because they really made it a huge success. A lot of council was there and kind of were visible, but staff really did the work and made it a success. I wanted to discuss the Farmerettes a little bit, because they've finished their first week, and it was a very successful first week. I know Deputy Mayor was there on opening night, as was I, and Deputy Mayor was with a number of other Great County members. So we had good representation. What was exciting was on Saturday, they actually had one of the Farmerettes was there. One of the 99-year-old Farmerettes was in attendance and really appreciated seeing the show. So this is the last week coming up, and it's on the 16th, 17th, 18th, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Shows are at 7:30. They may be sold out to very close, if not, but you can check with Meaford Theatre Company to see whether there are tickets still available. One last thing, and it's a sad note actually, is that the Electric Eclectics, which has been going on in Meaford for 20 years, I brought a motion forward a little while ago talking about sponsorships, and at that point we had heard at Roma that sponsorships literally are down like about 50%. They're going from grants to actual loans or other sponsorship kind of things, and this group lost 50%, so they're not going to be able to do it this year, which was a real blow for them. They're kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do to move forward now. They're not necessarily calling it a day. They're going to see if they can get alternative funding for next year, but for this year, it's going to be it will not be happening.
Okay. Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Something that will be happening in the month of August. It's a piece away, but we've started planning at Branch 32. The local Legion is celebrating 100 years of service, and to that end, the planning committee is laying out plans for a parade, for a drumhead service at the Cenotaph. And we're also trying to incorporate Christ Church Anglican. Those of you who know about the history of the stained glass window and having that stained glass pieces collected over in Europe and brought home here, we're hoping to work in a Sunday service with Christ Anglican. So it's a piece away, but it's definitely been started. And we did have some conversation about the sidewalk and the painting and the ideas. So that's also been something the group's been working on. So I know it's a piece away, but folks can start thinking about what they might want to do one weekend in August. There's also going to be a banquet planned. There'll be a military style banquet. So we're working at it.
Sounds great. Is there anything from the other side of the horseshoe today in for terms of announcements? Sure.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just building on the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Urig's comments about the docks on ice. I just wanted to add Mackenzie Fleming as one of the key contributors to that event, alongside the three names that the Deputy Mayor read out, but also to say thank you to Council for participating at the staff, being ambassadors for the community this weekend. It was a great help. Councillors weren't there just shaking hands. They were rolling up their sleeves and handing out bags and dropping pucks and being very helpful and welcoming to the community. So we appreciate that as staff as well.
Thank you very much, Brady. And anything else from staff? I just have one myself, and that is that everyone is invited to attend an open rehearsal tonight at Meaford United Church, where the Sweet Strings, which is falls under the umbrella of the Sweetwater Music Festival. They are going to be having a rehearsal, and there's nothing quite as interesting as watching a musical group rehearse. And it's just from 8 till 9 tonight. And you're very welcome. It's free, and you just come into you can park in the parking lot and come in that door off the parking lot and just follow the music. So if that's it for announcements, public participation. Members of the public are always encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released and will be limited to 10 minutes. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on items on the council agenda or to ask a public question, they may do so either in person at the council chambers or also remotely via Zoom, either on phone or internet. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or to ask a public question must register in advance with legislative services by 10 in the morning on the day of the meeting. And you can do that by contacting Deputy Clerk at meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1110. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes, and public questions are limited to 2 minutes. We do not have any presentations or deputations, or I don't believe public questions today. And just a reminder that you can watch our meetings live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel, and that's www.meaford.ca/YouTube. So we'll move then to council inquiries at this time. Councillor Urig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With your indulgence, I have two actually. First, obviously, I think we're all obviously aware that on March 30th, the Ontario and federal governments made announcements to partner to cut municipal development charges for in half for 3 years through an $8.8 million investment, $1 billion investment, sorry. Now they said they're providing $4.4 billion over 10 years via the Build Community Strong Fund. I'm just curious whether we're going to be seeing some kind of report on this in the not too distant future, because obviously the upper tiers love to do these things to lower municipalities. So I just wondering if we're going to be seeing a report on that in the future.
Yes, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor. So staff have been watching this one quite closely. To date, no announcement on the actual program has happened. So we're not really sure how this is going to work. As soon as stuff comes out about how it's going to work, whether Meaford will be eligible, we will be back in front of council with some options.
Great. Thank you very much. If I may, a second.
Sure.
I brought this to the table before. It's getting more pronounced. So Miller Street at Irwin by the bridge, there's been about another 3 feet of the bank has given away. So when you drive by there now, the post office boxes that are adjacent Miller Street are now less than 3 feet away from that bank that is eroded. There are, and I was just speaking with staff, there are two other posts that are also along there. One, we're not even sure what it is, but it's literally about 1.5 feet away. So this is something that uh, we've talked about, and I know that it's not going to be easy to try and figure out how to redirect that river, although it was done like 40 years ago. I did receive a call from a resident that lives there, who did some of that work previously. I will be bringing this up as well with the Grace Harbor Conservation Authority at next week's meeting, because between the two, this is definitely impacting, that road is going to encroach eventually on Miller. So there has to be something done about it, and it's better to do it earlier than later. It also is impacting. I received a call from, many of us know, Robert Bircher, who is very instrumental in working on that Trout Hollow Trail. And the amount of rain that's fallen this year has also washed away not just the Trout Hollow Trail around the bridge area, which has now already been redirected, but even further along down the river now, or up the river, there is a lot of trail there that is also washed away. And he is right now working on a group that can help figure out a way to redirect the trail around further back so that it will continue, because we do not want to lose that trail. But I just want to stress the importance, and I have brought this to the CAO's attention. He's aware of it, and I just want, between CAO Lantier at GSCA and CAO Everett, hopefully we can try and put some kind of plan in place to alleviate this in the future.
I'm certainly of the strong opinion that this is primarily a problem for the Grace Harbor Conservation Authority. And it's frustrating that they've been aware of this for quite a long time, and we're not seeing any action on it. So this is the time when that organization is seeking our support as it tries to, be independent, not be part of a conservation area with umpteen watersheds between the Lakehead and Newmarket. So I'm hoping that something will come.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, because that's it. We're concerned because we're having trouble having GSCA to do about having the Lake Huron GSCA that's to come, which will have about 70 municipalities in it. Having them address this very regional issue is going to even be a bigger challenge. So yeah, it's why we really need to try and move on this sooner than later.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we've all been watching the weather again and the influx of rain and how that has affected the streams and tributaries flowing into the harbor area. The last time when it was the ice buildup and a lot of the sediments that were in the water, it caused our water treatment plant to have to do something with their filters, and it caused a little bit of time. Would anyone here today on staff be able to answer whether they've done some preliminary work to alleviate that, or whether we're going to be looking at the same kind of issue? Thank you.
Through your worship, we have experienced increased turbidity as a result of the storm events, and have in the past as well. To date, we have been able to utilize our plant in its current state to deal with those turbidity issues. I know that obviously there was a similar impact in Owen Sound that impacted our Leith residents, where they had to have a boil water advisory. We have not had those same concerns to date. However, when we do experience impacts to our water treatment plant, we're always determining if there are other processes that could be added or put in place to assist or increase how we are dealing with those issues. And so we'll be looking forward and at that. And if there is changes needed, we would be putting that through the budget. Unless there's something more that's needed sooner, then we would be coming to council with the impacts and what that would look like. But as of right now, there aren't any specific items that we are looking at changing at the plant, but we are always monitoring to see if there's changes that can be made.
Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I wanted to thank Director Carbert. I was remiss in mentioning the arena staff, so thank you for making sure they were acknowledged for the Docs on Ice event. And I wanted to ask Director Perry, maybe Dawn, I know we talk about this often, but Bayshore Road, would you be able to share with us, Tori, what has occurred since we last addressed Bayshore Road at the council table in terms of the completion of that project?
Through your worship, over the fall and winter months, we worked with the contractor to complete all work that we could. There is some remaining work that is impacted by existing bell and hydro infrastructure. And so we are working to have that shifted so that we can complete the final work mainly on the west side of the road. And following that, we will then restore all of the construction area as per the contract. The timing is currently impacted by half loads. And so we will be working to have work proceeding in May once those half load restrictions are removed on the roadway. We are also recognizing that work will start in the near future. We'll be putting out communication both on our website and to residents impacted by it so that they are aware and can get some updates on the project. And once we have those poles removed, we'll be able to finalize the culvert work that is outstanding.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to our Director of Engineering, Victoria. It's quite common for council members and staff members to receive emails talking about various roads and road problems. Could be speeding, could be dust control. Recently, we received an email concerning concession 5 south of Highway 26. It's an unusual stretch of road. It ties into Side Road 16 briefly and then becomes concession 5 once more. We were receiving the same complaints as we got a week ago, 20 years ago about this road. I can remember Mayor Rife and I taking a bumpy drive over concession 5. There is a stretch about 1 kilometer south of the highway before you get to Side Road 16. It is in terrible shape, and it's in terrible shape not only in this rainy season, but basically 24/7, 12 months of the year. I see in our report next year we're going to do graveling on concession 5, but Victoria, is there any way we could take a look at improving this road? I think, I'm no engineer, I think the road bed, the road itself needs to be raised. It's unfortunate the ditches are quite shallow because I think we're right on the escarpment there. It's a difficult little stretch of road, but again, it's been a problem for a long time. And I'm just wondering if you or some of the transportation staff could take a real good look at this and see if there's some way we can alleviate this these stressful conditions every year. Thank you.
Through your worship, thank you for your comments, and we have received the same comments through the resident as well. To date, staff have prioritized operational practices to do everything we can to help improve the condition of this road, including culvert work and tree and bush removal to help with drainage. As mentioned, the road does require more significant capital works. As of right now, the capital program doesn't include gravel road restoration. It is focused on our hard surface roads. And then the gravel program is being utilized to help keep our gravel roads at base level. So change to our current processes would need to be made for a more significant project on this road. I think there's opportunity to look at the gravel cycling that we currently have to see if it's still working, as I know it's now been in place for a number of years, or if there's opportunity to do it through a more significant project.
We'll just maybe go on record as saying that I think Councillor Greenfield is absolutely correct. It has really been perhaps our worst road for a very, very long time. And I think it's really up to us as council probably to, offer a solution to staff in terms of, some kind of direction on what we might be able to do in the interim and then going forward. So. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move along to motions and bylaws for decision. There's nothing on the consent agenda, but we have a few items for consideration. And the first recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the Team Gray Memorandum of Understanding to formalize an economic development partnership between the municipality of Meaford and Gray County. Can I have a mover and seconder for this, please? Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Greenfield, thank you. Questions, discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to pull item 9 so that we can discuss that.
Well, there's nothing on the consent agenda.
Oh,
actually,
sorry,
yet
you're
today,
right. We're there. Then I would like to discuss point 9.
Okay, so and we'll discuss it when we get there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all right. Do I need a mover and seconder for to get this on the floor? No. Okay, then let's just discuss this. It's and this is a motion that I actually had the pleasure of moving at County Council. This is the beginning of a new era in terms of cooperation between first tiers in the county, and on the most important item of economic development. So, does anyone want to discuss this? Go ahead. I think I saw your hand first, Eric. Okay, no, all right then, Councillor Urick.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm all in favor of the MOU. I think it is great. It's been a lot of hard work between the county and all municipalities, and I really appreciate it. I think it's great. My question is, in there, they talk about the EDTC and again, this has been brought up before. They've studied a lot of, when I looked at the strat plans that they looked at, they were looking at all old strat plans for all municipalities that were around 21-22 predominantly. COVID had a major impact on all of our municipalities, but Meaford had a specific one, seeing that our development literally quadrupled on the books in that time. So I'm just curious, there's still nothing in the report about the Development Services Department work plan about new ECDEV strat plan. And that concerns me. So I just would like to know whether there's any kind of transparency on when we're going to do another ECDEV strat plan, because what the county has done is they looked at our old one, and I can say that our old one is literally out of date to a lot of the things that are happening in Meaford now and moving forward. So yes, this MOU will enable us to work together properly moving forward, but we should still have our own strat plan, because yeah, the county's going to do X, but they're going to do that for all municipalities. We need to be looking at for our own backyard. So long story is there some kind of plan as well to growing our economy committee recommended that the ECDEV strat plan be updated, and Savannah from the county spoke at our meeting and emphasize the importance that we have that as well. So I'd just like to know where that is in the planning stages.
I'm happy to answer that question, Your Worship. And thank you for that question. We do have that slated for work, I believe, in 2027, where we'll approach council as part of that budget to set aside some money and some project time to be able to execute that in partnership with the county, of course, under the umbrella of this MOU. So hopefully that helps.
Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I too am excited about this. We've heard considerable discussion at this at the county level, both at our PDAC committee, our Planning and Economic Development Advisory Group, as well as at County Council. So I think this is really a very positive move forward, recognizing the immense efforts of the Economic Development department at Grey County. They really are a highly professional and very accomplished group. So I think it will only help us here in Meaford to be more associated with Savannah and her team. I have two questions though. First of all, we see in the document on a couple of occasions, I'm looking at page 7 at the moment, discussion about determining a local community vision. And I know that we'll have our Deloitte report upcoming and we'll have our Downtown Harbor Master Plan underway, and eventually the BRNE, which I also want to ask about. But I'm just wondering how we think we'll actually get to a point where we can establish our own local community vision.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Another great question through you, Your Worship. A visioning exercise, I think, would be likely part and parcel of the ECDEV strat plan work. We do have a community vision written into the current official plan, but perhaps using the community engagement piece to narrow that down to economic development and community growth would be good fodder for that engagement with the community as part of that secondary plan, strategic plan.
Thank you, Director Can. I'll look forward to that. And if I may, Mr. Mayor, I would just also ask about the BRNE. Is there any update on the status of that project?
Thank you, through your worship. We're eagerly awaiting an announcement from the province on the funding. That's where we are right now. We continue to look ahead in this year's work plan and make sure that we have room for that project, because we do want to see it completed, but we are waiting for an announcement on the funding for that grant. So fingers crossed.
Any other questions or discussion? Perhaps Director Can, I could ask you, we now have 30 acres of commercial and employment lands. Where would we be in terms of when we would actually start to develop a subdivision plan or a servicing plan?
Thank you, Your Worship. That's a doozy. We do have a lot of work at the staff level to do some growth management, growth forecasting for the urban Meaford settlement area. We do have a lot of infrastructure work ahead of us as well, and we have our water wastewater master plan that we're hoping to get to work on this year as well. So all of those things are part and parcel, and so keeping in mind these opportunities we have for how these lands outside of the existing built-up area will come into play and when, that's going to be forefront in our mind. So as we move along in 2026 in these major projects, we'll get more clarity on what that timeline looks like and how those developments can unfold.
I would just say that I think that for the memorandum of agreement with the county to have much impact, we'll have to be sort of shovel ready for development. And it's my hope that we will see some. And in fact, I'm very sure we will. But exactly what developments will trigger that is hard to say. But I know that we want to be ahead of the situation instead of behind it. So thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Director
Through your worship, happy just to add a little bit more to that. So a number of years ago, obviously potentially with a different vision, there was a 30% design looked at in that area. So we'll be building off of that as well, recognizing that the scope has probably changed significantly. So we'll see if there's anything from that initial review that can be used going forward, and then building off of what we need with the changes that have happened in that area.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next item, so we need to vote on this. You've heard the recommendation, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously then. Item B, the recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2026-30, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 60-2009 pertaining to lands known municipally as 025795 Euphrasia St. Vincent Town Line, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Forder and Councillor Urick, thank you. Any discussion on this item? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a kind of a general question about this one. And I know we had the public meeting and a number of questions were answered, but we seem to be seeing a number of these requests. And, you know, it's the request is significantly more than is currently approved in our existing zoning bylaws. So I'm just wondering, at some point, will we be revisiting the zoning bylaw and perhaps making a determination about changing whether it's the minimum distance or the permitted size of these on-farm industrial uses, or will we just continue to work with them on a one-off basis?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through your worship. It is my understanding that through the local official plan and through the county official plan, the plan right now is prescribed to sort of go with the zoning bylaw amendment process to analyze each of these on-farm diversified uses on a case-by-case basis. I can certainly speak to planning staff and get an understanding of if the zoning provisions are going to be looked at to broaden the scope that's currently permitted. But certainly the county official plan includes wording that on-farm diversified uses are to be reviewed generally through the zoning bylaw amendment process.
Interesting. Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Ms. Can and maybe Councillor Urick and Councillor Bell can help me a bit on this one too. I should have asked this at the meeting a couple of weeks ago, but we have a potential manufacturing site of sorts here, and there's a large graveled yard, they call it, and I think one time during the report it mentioned could be some large trucks turning around, and that's why they wanted this large pad. It's reasonably close and higher than a runoff creek to the east of this, and there are hazard lands in the proximity of this building. I'm just wondering now. I'm supposing a gravel yard is not going to have as much runoff as a paved yard. I could be wrong on that, but I'm just trying to remember. I think Grace Sobel commented on this, and we're okay with this. But I just got a little bit of tension about 20 years down the road, what could unfortunately happen here.
Through your worship, if I'm understanding your question, Councillor Greenfield, just wanting clarification on the involvement of the Conservation Authority. So you're right, they were circulated on the zoning bylaw amendment application with no objection. Any development that impacts the regulation area under the Conservation Authority will require a permit from that body. Also, this development will require site plan approval. That's my understanding, which means that a more specific review of grading and drainage will take place in partnership with the CA under that process. So hopefully that puts your mind at ease a little bit.
Okay, thanks for that. And having had some experience with Grace Harbor Conservation Authority, I'm sure they, whatever they decide will be quite appropriate for this. Thanks for that.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this then? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried unanimously. So I need a motion now to move in committee of the whole. Councillor Forder and a seconder, Councillor Bell, thank you. And we're moving into committee of the whole at 1:40 this afternoon. The first item here is the recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, approve the draft memorandum of understanding for planning services between the Municipality of Meaford and the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority as presented in Staff Report Development 2026-09, Appendix 1, and 2, direct staff to bring forward a bylaw to authorize the Mayor and Clerk to execute the memorandum of understanding. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Uhrig and Deputy Mayor, thank you. Discussion on this item. Did you like to just present on that? I'd appreciate it if you did.
Yes,
Cannon?
absolutely, Your Worship. Happy to give a brief run over another memorandum of understanding to essentially just clarify how we work and interact with our friends at the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority. We had a previous MOU with them, and it was a 5-year term. And so it was a 2025 MOU, sorry, 2020 MOU, and is now expired. So we're looking to enter into a new MOU in consideration, especially of changed legislation. So this MOU does that. It outlines how we will interact, collection of fees, commenting timelines, all of that good stuff. And so really just facilitating our continued cooperation with the Conservation Authority. I'm happy to answer any specific questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks again, Your Worship, and again through you to Ms. Can. Am I correct in saying that all current agreements with CAs will be in effect for 2 years? Is that, I read that someplace. Is that, does that sound reasonable?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Everything is written in sand. I'm sure Director Cam would love to answer that question and probably wouldn't be able to very well. I mean, they're proposing to put this legislation or this new structure in place in February of 27. So realistically, the only thing that we can take away at this point with any hope is that they are saying that each individual existing CA, and each one has its own administrative body right now, will continue to function as they have before. And what they're saying is it's the leadership aspect and the governance and the funding models are going to change, but every CA is potentially, and their employees are not going to be touched. Sure, let's go with that. Are going to be all kept whole. So I haven't heard anything about a 2-year specific. What they're saying is nothing's going to change in terms of how it works on an individual basis. Stay tuned. I'll leave it at that.
Go ahead, Director Can.
And further to Councillor Uhrig's commentary, it is our understanding that re-entering into the MOUs is prudent because the government has tentatively stated that they will honor these agreements for their, in this case, 5-year lifespan. So that's why we're sort of sticking to the previous plan and rolling over the MOU.
Okay, any other questions? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you. The next recommendation is that the Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve, 1, the transfer of $527 from Water Reserve Fund to pay for a portion of the rehabilitation work on structure Bridge 35 associated with the water main. 2, the award of tender, ITTTS 2025-10, structure Bridge 35, rehabilitation to Arnott Construction Limited for $463,008, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST. And number 3, authorize the mayor and the clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. Mover and a seconder for this recommendation, Councillor Bell, and a seconder, Councillor Forder. Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Bell?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So those of us that have been down there to have a look at this older structure, just off the cuff, it looks like it was something that was probably poured in the Second World War, the way it's designed, the way that it is. I'm glad to see that we're taking care of this bridge out in the rural community. We often hear where, the rural community doesn't feel that they're getting their fair share of some work's being done. There's another example of another bridge that's being done. Just for clarity, it says that the span is 10.1 meters. The number, is it in its totality 463,000, or is it more than that? Or is that what the report says that we're doing that? My only point about that is to go across 10 meters, 3 feet in a meter, 30 feet, you're going to spend almost $500,000 to do it. Glad to see it getting done, but anyway, on the number of 463, is that the totality? Because I saw something else in there, but another 200,000. I wasn't just quite sure what that meant.
Through your worship, the 463,000 is for the construction portion of the project. So this will include the rehab of the structure. There is a water main that will be going across the structure as well that is included with the work. And there is bank stabilization as well as some paving that will go up Centerville Road. So all of that is included in the total price. There is additional funds related to this project for work for the engineering side of the work. So that's both the actual engineering as well as oversight during construction. So the $400,000+ identified in this report is the totality for all of those items for construction.
Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, and I apologize if I missed this in the report, but what does the construction timeline look like for this project?
Through your worship, I have that information somewhere, but it's not in front of me right now. I do recall that what would most likely have been identified as part of the public information center that would be on our website, but I can take a look and respond to council with the exact timeline of what is expected. That would be an estimate based on the consultant or the engineer's estimate. As following award, we do work with the contractor with regards to scheduling and can have a more precise identification of what construction looks like, as sometimes some of the work doesn't impact closing the road completely right away. And so that timeline can change a bit depending on the contractor who is actually completing the work.
Just a couple of pieces of, did you have another question? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll be quick about this. I just noticed there is a typographical error under analysis that describes the water main as 1951 years old. So I just suggest that maybe we amend that just so it's clear. Is the water main from 1951?
Yes.
I understand that's correct. Okay, thank you.
I was going to highlight that sometimes there is a little fun in this business, and I certainly had a good chuckle. The water main under the creek is 1,951 years old. But I think the work was done in 1951, and Centerville is the rural hamlet that is going to benefit from this, as well as those who cottage beyond that on the waterfront. Any other discussion, Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I think we do have some bridges that are that old. Through you to Victoria. Yeah, now this bridge is basically at the end of the paved part of Lakeshore Road South and Centerville Road at the L corner there. I think we had some considerable work done on Lakeshore Road South a year or so ago. And there were some problems with especially the west lane of that construction. Seems to me I can remember a number of residents along there talking about some dips and dives, and I think there's a warranty on that road work. Correct me if I'm wrong, and it seems to me it was a 2-year warranty, and I'm just wondering if there is going to be some improvement made on that road. Is this work at the bridge going to interfere at all with that as far as timelines are concerned? Or is it the fact that obviously it is down at the corner, but workers and equipment have to get there somehow? So can you help me with that one?
Through your worship, we are aware of some road issues that are in conjunction with the Lakeshore Road South project that happened a couple of years ago. It is still under warranty. We do have a 2-year warranty for that project. We will be working before that warranty is up to see what can be done to rectify some of those issues. And we will work to make sure that the timelines aren't impacted and that work can proceed when it needs to. So we don't see an issue with this project and potentially some work that needs to happen on Lakeshore Road South.
Councillor Ennis?
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just looking at Director Tory's comment that our website has the project page. And I just noticed on the project page that it says that the total budget is 907,000. So I'm just curious whether we've thankfully saved about 400,000 or if the remaining amount of that budget was spent in other parts of the project that we haven't discussed today.
Through your worship. So there is a portion that would be engineering. However, based on these construction costs, we are seeing a savings of about $219,000. So the construction cost did come in significantly lower than what was anticipated, which is always a positive on projects. And so there is that savings that we are seeing.
Are we ready to vote on this? Any other questions? All in favor then? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. The next item, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, award the tender Transportation Services 2026-14 granular resurfacing to EC King Contracting for $1,185,504, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST, and 2, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. A mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Greenfield, thank you. Any discussion on this item? Councillor Bell?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this is a pretty standard request, a pretty standard situation for the maintenance of the roadways with gravel. I just want to pick up a little bit though on my fellow Councillor Greenfield talking about the fifth concession. In times past, when we had Mr. Freeze with us, I spent some time talking about this time of year, the number of potholes, which will range in the millions. And I did drive down the fifth, and I've talked to Mr. Freeze about this time of year with the frost coming out of the ground with extra water. The last thing we want to do is grade that road. If we grade that road right now, all that does is makes a slurry of the matrix, and the next vehicle that goes down that road makes a long rut, followed by other vehicles making long ruts, and it just turns it into Passchendaele. So it's a tough time of year. It's an ugly time of year on these roads. And if my fellow councillor went down the fifth concession, maybe sometime take a drive down the second, it'll be rugged like that. I'll guarantee you, all the way to Balaclava. But as far as buying gravel, we need to do it. It's on the rotational basis. We've done it before. We'll be doing it again in the future. So I support this. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to ask, the larger question. And I'm curious to know whether I know we're meeting minimum maintenance standards for sure, and whether that is generally the policy. I assume it is with other municipalities, but when we look at this graveling, because of the comments that we've heard from Councillor Bell and Councillor Greenfield, and we know this is a tough time of year for our roads, but, are we graveling them often enough? Should we have a conversation at some point about this entire program? And, maybe we can do better. I mean, we've got a pretty good price on our gravel this year, but is that anything staff is talking about, that we revisit at some point the frequency of graveling these roads?
Through your worship, it is something that has been a conversation recently. We have been doing the 3-year gravel rotation for a number of cycles now, and some roads are definitely seeing the benefit of it, while others, it's not enough. And they could be either receiving more gravel more often, or there is other work that could be completed to improve their existing condition, if there is a desire to change the condition of the existing road. The gravel roads do not are not reflected in from a pothole perspective in the minimum maintenance standards, because it's really talking about asphalt potholes. Gravel potholes are a bit of a different beast, and obviously are fixed in a very different way. And so there are a number of things we can do, but I do think that there is benefit to look at the program and see the benefits that have come from it, and maybe see if there's areas that we could improve going forward. And that could be shifting how we're doing it, and focusing more on roads that need it and less on other roads that are seeing the benefit of the current program. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to review what we have done and take away information from the years that we have collected in seeing how the program has worked.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, thanks, your worship, and thanks to Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Bell for getting in on this conversation. I have mentioned previously that I'd like to discuss rural bridges sometime, and I think that maybe could be included with a roads discussion. And concerning concession 2, geez, I found potholes there 24/7, 12 months of the year. I'm kind of surprised Councillor Bell didn't ask for that that stretch from side road 24 up to side road 30 to be hard topped. I think that might for a year or two solve some problems anyway.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. I'm not really sure if I have a question buried in here, so I'm going to stumble through it and maybe I can just feel more certain about what my understanding of how roads work by the end of this. But so I live in roughly the same area as Councillor Bell, on a gravel road. And I've noticed, and I'm sure that this would be a problem for other people, that like the area right in front of our property and our property line, the road's in pretty good shape, thankfully, that section. But I end up with a lot of gravel being wasted for road purposes into our lawn and the neighbor across the road's wood lot. And so just thinking about how much money we're spending on gravel, I'm wondering if there's any room for, I don't know, using that more efficiently, especially considering that down the road from us, there is a section where there's a bit of a hill, so I imagine that it's hard, the weather is harder on that section of road, but it's quite bad. And so sometimes as I'm driving along it, I feel bad that I have all this gravel in my lawn that I just sort of rake in and hope it doesn't hit the lawnmower blade. But then there's a section of road just down the way that could really use it. And so I don't know if there's room for maybe just being more targeted with where gravel, because like you said, some sections seem to need more gravel than others, and just the way that road is, it can almost consumes gravel in a different way. So I don't know if there's space to be more targeted with where that gravel ends up in some of those areas that actually need it. But I don't know how that fits into kind of the project management and work plan.
Through your worship, I think there's a lot of opportunity to look at where gravel is placed, and that could be is a very good example where, you know, right now, obviously, we place it on a whole road section as identified in the map as part of the report. There's potentially an ability to place gravel on sections of road section, maybe more often than every 3 years, while other areas maybe could have it less often. So I think there's opportunity to shift slightly how we're doing the existing program. Also in conjunction of just looking at how drainage is in each of those areas as well, and is it more of a gravel problem or a drainage problem? Because a lot of the times the concerns is that the road isn't draining properly, and that could be the reason why we aren't seeing the benefit of the gravel the same way as we're seeing in other areas. And so kind of looking at different facets to determine the best approach forward. I think we have seen significant benefits of the program, so now it's kind of just dialing in and seeing if there's ways that we can shift it to have even more benefit.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Something very quickly, and I know that our director has heard this before. Those of us that have been to a good roads convention get one thing told to us: good ditches make good roads. We're behind on ditching, and they make good roads. So that's why I did what I did with that budget request, ditching. So it all ties together. Thank you.
Okay, are you ready to vote on this, everyone? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Lastly here, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford 1 award tender Transportation Services 2026-16 supply and placement of dust suppressants to Dali Dust Control Limited for $369,083.52, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST. And 2, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. A mover and a seconder for this one. Councillor Forder and Councillor Bell, thank you. Discussion on this? Councillor Bell?
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor. I was conscious of this during the budget. I'm expecting that the delivery of the suppressant material will be the same as in years past. That is at the entranceways of people's residence, at intersections and on hills. Because during the budget, if we were going to put dust suppressant 100%, our budget would have increased. So my question is my assumption correct that we're going to apply this material the same as we've done literally last year?
Through your worship, yes, there is no change to the level of service. This will be the same level of services that we've seen in previous years.
Can I ask if what kind of feedback you've had from people? Because at the end of the day, people get all of the advantages. They don't get all of the advantages of dust control, and they get a lot of disadvantage because they travel far more miles on a terribly dusty stretch of road than they do pulling into their driveway. Any comment on that? Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So during the budget, which you presented,
I did.
we were under the understanding that if we were going to do, as I mentioned previous about putting it all down, literally the budget number would have had to double. And I mean, I've got neighbors that work out there in the summertime and they're hauling their hay and they've got bandanas on their face. It's not nice. They're choking on dust, but it breaks down to money too. And as my fellow councilor said about efficiencies, I will say that when you put down dust suppressant, it does keep the material on the road. It doesn't blow into the fields and on the trees, but there's a cost. And I was comfortable, Mr. Mayor, with the budget that you brought forward and putting the money that we have at this amount. Future councils, you want to do that, we'll definitely have another look at that situation. But yeah.
I can tell you there was no specific discussion of that. And I'm reminded of it now, but there was no discussion with staff about that issue. But I think it is an issue for rural dwellers for sure. Councillor Ennis?
Sort of thought that if we're on the conversation about putting gravel down, is it any form of standard practice to mix dust suppressant into the gravel supply from the beginning so that once it goes on the road, I'm assuming you would see at least some benefit, and then it's sort of built up in layers over time?
Through your worship. So I guess we do something similar. So all of the roads that have granular placed in that given year also receive dust suppressant following the application of gravel. So shortly after it is put on the road, we do put the dust suppressant on those sections as well as on hills and corners and at intersections. So it does help with that immediate layer of gravel that is placed. But I do know that our staff do receive comments often from residents that a higher level of service could be used and would be beneficial. Obviously, there is a number of things where a higher level of service could benefit our residents. So the comment that the budget would have to double, potentially, even slightly higher than that to cover all of the gravel roads in a given year. And we do, when we can, put water on some of our roads as well to help with dust when we know that there are specific issues that do need to get rectified. So it is something that not only our residents are seeing, but our staff are as well. And we do what we can to reduce the impact as much as possible with the existing budget.
Thank you. Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Just like to know what type of dust suppressant will be used and what would be the known environmental impacts of such suppressants, please.
Through your worship, I apologize as I wasn't involved in developing this specific contract, but I can get that information for you and pass it along.
Okay, it looks like we're ready to vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7 here, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole receive legislation 2026-04, election report number 3 for information purposes. A mover and a seconder, Councillor Uhrig and Councillor Forder. Thank you. We've all seen the report. Any discussion or questions? I think everybody's clear on everything, so we've had good information that's very, very helpful. So I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. The next recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve option B as outlined in Report Legislation 2026-05, inaugural meeting of the 2026 through 2030 term of council. A mover and a seconder for this report, Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Greenfield. Thank you. Discussion on this? I have something to say. So no, yeah, I'm glad to see your hand. Go ahead first, by all means.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. And I don't really have a question. I just wanted to offer my support for the recommended option B. I think that's appropriate and it allows there to be a little bit of celebration without breaking the bank, so to speak. So I think I would express my support for that recommendation.
Okay, and what I would, go ahead, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the report, it was noted that the person that usually does the swearing in and the taking of the oaths is unavailable. When I read that, I just mentioned this, that we have a judge who works out of Owen Sound, Judge Julie Morrow. Julie, maiden name was Duggan, and she came from Sydenham Township out on 24 Side Road. So I don't know whether it would be worth a call to see whether she would like to come over here and do that. But it's been a while since I have seen Judge Julie in her current day, honorary position being a judge. But anyway, it is nice to have a judge to do that. I always enjoyed that. And anyway, if we only have to have somebody from staff do that, I'm comfortable doing that too. But at maybe a request to Judge Julie Morrow, she might say, and maybe toss my name around. Maybe that'll work, or maybe it won't. But anyway, it'd be nice to find out if she'd be available. Thanks.
Maybe it's just me, but I think that I can't see a lot of difference in cost, not a serious amount of cost in going with option C, is it, to simply in honor of the people who step forward and who put their name on the ballot and who campaign and who commit themselves to 4 years of 24/7. I think having them bagpiped into Meaford Hall is nothing wrong with that. And the same with the reception. I think there's a likely possibility of having a little fuller attendance in the hall. Really, when I was elected as mayor, there was maybe 30, 40 people. It was not really anything to. So an extra $100 for a piper for 1 day out of 365 times 4. I would vote for option C myself, and because I think that I would like to see the next council off with the blessing of this council. And that's here endeth the lesson. So yeah, I'll call the vote. All in favor, and this is for option B, which is the middle road and the cheapy way. So all in favor of option B? Sure, by all means.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. May I ask of Margaret then, do you have a sense of the cost of a piper? The mayor has suggested $100. Is that appropriate?
Thank you, through you, Your Worship, to the Deputy Mayor. I'm just going to ask Allison, she wrote the report. I will refer to her to see if she's got more costing on that. I think also if we move to that option, the bagpiper would require a lot of staff time to just coordinate. So I think we're reflecting that as well, to invite the groups that are piped in, and to kind of go with option C is a little bit more extensive. So we can certainly, if Allison has some costing on that, I would invite her up to share that at this time.
And while she's making her way to the mic, I think that what the public, nobody in the public is going to say that was a staff decision. They'll say that was council's decision. And it is our decision. And I just think, as I say, I would like to, no matter who is elected, to have them really enjoy their inauguration and feel that they have had a good welcome from this council. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I don't have exact costing. We didn't get that in advance of this report, not anticipating that that was the recommended option, but we could certainly get that rather quickly. And as long as it's not exorbitant, could proceed with that certainly. I can't see that it would be much more than that $100. We probably would pay a small honorarium and then any expenses.
Yeah.
So just depending where they're coming from for mileage.
In my experience as a bandsman many years ago, there are a number of pipers in Meaford and in Town of Blue Mountains, and I think $100 is a typical, honorarium, and even now, and I think as well that it would be the traveling expenses would be minimal. So, go ahead, Councillor Ennis.
I was just going to just sort of looking at the idea of having the entry procession and having community service clubs as part of option C to attend the event and with a role. I'm wondering if there's room then to invite the base and representatives from there and perhaps maybe collaborate, and they could provide a bagpiper or something like that. And then as a sort of additional thought, if we're going to involve service clubs, I would think that I'd like to see the event then be in the evening so that people actually, anybody who's working or anything like that would be able to come. If the idea is to bring
That's an
members,
excellent idea.
bring members of, or if members of the community are going to come, and also kind of have the opportunity to get to know some of the service clubs as well.
Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, so two thoughts. An alternative as well is our town crier, who would probably very much enjoy leading in the new council. So may I suggest that we defer this report and allow Allison to come back to us with costing? I don't think will it cause any harm, Margaret, to put this forward for a couple of weeks. So I suggest, yes, we defer this report until our next meeting of council and allow Allison to come back to us with exact cost for option 3.
Okay, yeah, so that's an amendment.
Yes.
Councillor Urick, you're seconded, okay. Any further discussion? We'll vote on this amendment. All in favor? Any opposed? So that's passed unanimously, and then do we have to, we don't have to vote anymore, you'll just take it back, good. Okay, well, thank you very much. I think. Yeah, one more. I think there's one more here. Yes. This is a recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, enact a bylaw to dissolve the Growing Our Economic Advisory Committee, investing in infrastructure. The advisory committee, so I'll start again here, enact a bylaw to dissolve the Growing Our Economy Advisory Committee, investing in infrastructure Advisory Committee, and strengthening our Community Advisory Committee. And 2, direct staff to bring forward a report in Q1 of 2027 with options for the committee structure for the 2026 through 2030 term of council that incorporates the feedback outlined in report Legislative Services 2026-06 Advisory Committee wrap-up. Mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Urick and Deputy Mayor Keaveney, thank you. Discussion on this? Did you want to speak to it, please?
No, thank you. I just was anticipating questions.
Okay, just questions. So, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find this report a little concerning, I guess. I'll start by saying that to read in here that members in their feedback suggest that they are feeling underutilized by staff. And, we know we have many residents who possess lots of diverse areas of expertise. And these folks really have a strong desire to be involved and to give back to their communities and to be consulted essentially. So I hope we can use this as an opportunity to really figure out how we can effectively engage these individuals so that we can benefit from their knowledge and that so they can feel heard and valued when they, work on these committees and, put their time and energy into providing, their own areas of expertise and resources to us as a municipality, because I think we've had a number of terms now with committees and we always end up in the same place where people are frustrated and feeling like the time that they had committed just really wasn't as meaningful as they had thought it would be when they joined these committees. So I think we have a lot of work to do to try to create a structure that will allow people to really be able to contribute in a way that that they can find meaningful. So I'm glad we're going forward with this, and I'll look forward to a next report from staff.
Councillor Yurg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll echo Deputy Mayor's comments. Thank you, Allison, for the report. I think it's very helpful. Just knowing again some of the people that participated on page 89, when it said 30% of the residents indicated their overall experience of serving in the committee was good. That's not good, that only 30% said it was good. I'm trying to remember what the other options were there on that they could put that it was good. Because that's a little concerning, obviously, that it's that low. I remember during the conversations of when the advisory committees went from their former structure to their current structure, that it was to mirror the pillars. And I've certainly heard from people that the concern about that was, and my concern at the time when that was happening, and I voiced, was that the pillars are very wide and overreaching. So I found, talking to a number of the members, that they really didn't understand because it was so broad-based. It used to be an Dev committee, it used to be a Parks and Rec. So you know specifically kind of what you were targeting and doing. So without some kind of directionality that specifically says, and I think you've done a good job in identifying that in the future, I think it has to be project laden or it has to be specific, because this year I've heard so often that it was like, there was so much like, are we dealing with Parks and Rec in this committee? Are we dealing with? And there is overlap technically between potentially so many of them. So it really does need to be honed in some way that's gonna, I know some members said they will not be back if it was gonna be based on the same structure as it is now. Just because they felt that it really was so shotgun that they really didn't feel like they could concentrate or specifically hone in on anything. So thank you for the report, but going back to the 30%, what were the other options there? Because that's a low number.
Councillor Ennis and then Councillor Bell.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Just reflecting on my own experience as a member of advisory committees in the last term of council, and then this term of council before I was appointed, and then as the appointed council member. I do echo a lot of these thoughts, though as a plug for advisory committees in general, because I have had some conversations with people who in their maybe we'll just say discouragement from the process, similar to what Councillor Yurek has said from his conversations. Some people have asked, well, why do it? Or like as an individual community member, why would you join? And I would just plug, at the very least, the process is a good way for people to just understand how the municipality actually functions. And then for me as an individual, I got a lot of value from that to be able to then step into this role with at least that sort of baseline understanding. And I think it just, at the very least, really helps build like good connection between like individual people who are interested in seeing the municipality do good things and be successful. But having, as Councillor Yurek said, like pillars that sort of really overlap, they really need to be discrete, separate pillars and with very clear direction on, okay, well, we're interested in parks. So like, what are we going to do? What is us meeting going to do for the benefit of the parks system, or, you know, whatever sort of problem space the committee is focused on? And if we can really figure it out, from what I understand, that seems to be a problem kind of in all municipalities with their advisory committees. And I think it's a really good opportunity for this municipality to separate itself as a leader in how to actually do community engagement. If we can invest kind of whatever time we need and effort we need to really figure that out, we'll be able to have a really good volunteer workforce helping us solve problems that you know, we're always struggling with. So to the ether, anybody who's going to be listening to this meeting, I think it's really important for members of the community to read this report, understand, you know, this is something we all want to see improved. So please, at the next term of council, when we're opening when the advisory committees are opened again, like, please come with your ideas, please come with your energy, and then everybody can work together to make things better.
Thank you, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Allison. I think when it talks about the onboarding and the orientation, that's absolutely key. There is a lot of time spent with staff preparing for a meeting. And when I was the chair of the Sustainability Committee, when it talks about onboarding and the selection of people who have the background and the expertise to really add, my fellow councillor Forder, who was my co-chair, knows that one of the persons that we selected right from the very beginning was the person that had the best resume, had the best outstanding resources that we could have used. And that particular individual in their life never showed up once. So I don't know how we can ask people when they want to volunteer, do you have the time to commit? Because if you do not volunteer. Because when we went to those meetings and my fellow councillor was with us, I think there was one time when there was my fellow councillor Forder, one member, and then the staff. And we couldn't have a meeting. And so we were ready, people were ready, and no one shows up. You can't take a horse to water, make them drink. But when you think about putting your name forward to volunteer, there's a commitment. And it's simply not fair. The world isn't fair, but it's not fair to those who do prepare and are ready to have a meeting, and we don't. We even had one meeting where we had a guest speaker come all the way from Guelph, and we couldn't even hear the person after traveling that time. And he was going to bring something that we could talk about. So it's crucial that the understanding of folks that want to volunteer, have the impact, say the say, and want to have something transpire, can't transpire if you don't follow the format and you're not prepared to go to work. So I love volunteers. I do. I mean, we talked just previously about the motion before about the inaugural meeting for my fellow councillor, the Royal Canadian Legion, marched on the colors. Okay? We did that. There's others that do things, but you have to be prepared to do some personal sacrifice. And what happened with that particular one, it just fell apart. It just died a natural death. And it was sad to see. In my particular case, my fellow councillor Forder knows this, we were one meeting away from bringing towards council a recommendation for council's consideration. And you will never hear what that was. And it was good. It was easy, it was solid, it was attainable, it was doable, and the costs were minimal. What more can you ask from a group of people to have all of that? And you never get to hear it. I couldn't bring it forward. So it breaks down to the onboarding of people. They put their names, which also puts a level of responsibility on the current council to choose those individuals and choose wisely. And we thought we chose very wisely, or we wouldn't have recommended them to join. So it's a careful process and it's a serious process, because when that does fall apart, then you get a comment like my fellow councillor, why bother? I'm sure that the other members on that committee of mine for sustainability, I think if you probably asked them, they probably would tell you right now, well, why bother? It fell apart, didn't go anywhere. You didn't get to do anything. It is disheartening. And it is a negativity on it, but it breaks down to Ellison. What you put here, I'm in full agreement for. There's a better process, a more wholesome process, and one that needs to be enforced, I believe, sternly. If you're going to do it, do it. It takes time. So anyway, thanks for listening to me, Mr. Mayor. I've gone on a little bit, but I wanted to share that because it affected me. I know it affected my fellow councillor, and I'm sure that it affected those that did want to come out from time to time.
It's a good time at the beginning of an election year to get this out in the open, and people will see that even being a member of council isn't the be all and end all. So, Deputy Mayor.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add a second comment as I'm thinking about county committees. I sit on a number, but two of them have members of the public, the Agricultural Advisory Committee and the PDAC, the Planning Economic Development Advisory. And they're both so successful. People are really engaged. And if I think about the why of that, it seems to me that, first of all, I think the folks that are on those committees feel privileged because then they are informed. They are sometimes the first to know of things that are being presented in the municipality. Sometimes reports come to us before they even come to council. So I think that's part of the reason people attend, is because they know that they're going to have the privilege of knowing things that are happening with the county. And I think secondly, often those reports will request people to draw on their expertise and to comment. I could pick a number, but we'll just pick most recently the beaver and coyote. They were looking at what to do with those bylaws and whether to increase the rewards, or, you know, there's a number of different aspects to that. But people became really engaged and they shared their experiences and they shared what they knew about what was happening in other communities. And they talked about a best path forward. And then the county took that information back to council in a report that, you know, we were able to adopt. So I think that allowed the members of the Ag Committee to really feel that they had been heard. So I just think there has to be that follow through of whatever those reports that staff bring to those committees, with that information coming back to council for conversation, and where possible, the recommendations of the committee members actually following through to a bylaw or whatever the situation is. And I think that process will allow people to feel like, you know, they've been appreciated, like they've been able to contribute something. I mean, we just have great success over there. And I know I've shared this before, but at the end of our PDAC committees, people always stand up and clap. I mean, there's just so completely opposite to what happens in our own committees, where people often leave feeling frustrated. So I just think if we look out into the universe and see what other communities are doing, as well as the county, maybe we can pull a few successes back and utilize them in our process going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks, Allison, for bringing forward your report. I did sit with two committees. Now, the Accessibility Advisory Committees are a little different from some that we're describing here. And I think part of the problem was that we were well into the term before the committee really got rolling. Whether we were all trying to play catch up or but we missed that inaugural training or leadership, and I think having a designated staff member do the training, having the potential committee members know that, hey, this person's going to be with us, you know, hopefully for the next 3 or 4 years, will be a big plus. Maybe the ground rules weren't pointed out as well as they could be, and since it was kind of a rebirth of our committee system. Maybe we weren't just 100% sure where we were going. I found with the infrastructure committee, which we did. I think we had one meeting that we didn't have quorum, and that was unfortunate. But I think initially in that committee, we were dealing with decisions that had already been made. And that's all very well and good, made by council. That's all very well and good. We needed to get that kind of base, but I thought the enthusiasm picked up when we started discussing this year's, 2025 projects. And also then started talking about future projects. The committee, I think, got into that more. So how can we, maybe what is council not doing? What would the committee advise getting into it? I found that interesting because they didn't always have the same opinions council had, which can't understand why that would be, but anyway, I think giving them a little more, a little more free rein helped. They wanted to make suggest projects for budget discussion, and I think this is the kind of thing that they seem to be interested in. How can we get our opinions, motions to council, and there seemed to be kind of a reluctance to do that because I'm not sure they felt really confident doing that. I'm not sure if they really thought, well, or is council going to listen to us? And I think that's one thing we need to ensure in the next committee session is that council welcomes the opinions. Council may not agree with them, but I think that's important. We have to make the committee members feel important, feel wanted, feel needed, and that is what I came away from with the accessibility committee. I have to admit the first 2 or 3 committee meetings were mainly about, well, I don't like the way the streets are swept, or this particular door is too hard to open, and all very important to folks with disability problems. But once we got on, okay, we're not really here to deal with specific items. We want to look at a broader range. We want to look at the bigger picture. And once we got into discussing Meaford moves, and once we decided to do an inventory of the entrances to downtown, they all chipped in. They all had good feelings about that. We're looking at this big picture, and I think that's important to paint that picture right at the very start. That okay, there's always going to be individual grievances and opinions, but it's got to be bigger than that. Okay, that's enough for me.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis?
Thank you. Through Mr. Mayor, something Councillor Greenfield said just popped into my made me think of something that I'd wanted to bring up. So thank you for that. Given that this report is, in large part meant to help the future council or the next council, kind of get a sense for how they want to structure things and do things. I think it'd be great to include it just to like put a date or a rough timeline of when they should have advisory committees in place to avoid the issue of a bit of a late start, or at least sort of I don't know, give like a little bit of pressure into getting it started sooner rather than later, so that the committees do kind of have some time. Because if you're, a year or so in already, if you're meeting every 6 weeks or so, it really kind of limits the amount of engagement, especially once people are kind of trained up and ready to go. And it might be worthwhile too. I mean, it's unlikely that committees could be in place before the budget season in 2027, but it might be good to sort of pre-advertise the existence of advisory committees and the eventual call for volunteers, and use the budget time as a way to kind of introduce people and say, look, if you're really interested in getting involved in advisory committees, if there are by that time any thoughts of what they might be, you could include that, but then sort of coax people into, okay, well, if you want to do this, you should look at the budget process, because these are the things we're going to be talking about. You'll know what programs are on the docket, what's going to be happening, and what areas of activity or policy we're going to be looking for advice on.
Are you ready to vote on this? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, Deputy Clerk Penner. Thank you. So moving on, updates from members appointed to County Council, committees and local boards. I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Keaveney for a report on County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just the way the calendar worked out, County Council has met twice since we were last together. So I'll try to be brief on the both reports. County Council met on March the 26th. The first discussion was about the long-term care Committee of Management meetings, and the report indicated that operations at the 3 county homes are stable, progress on capital reports, workforce recruitment and retention, the development of clinical programs, and the influenza inoculation campaign were all on schedule. The Color It Your Way model of emotional-based leading the way care has been recognized by the province, and this is a big deal, with additional funding at Lee Manor for dementia training for 245 team members over a period of 8 days. And the county was only one, there were 17 that were chosen out of all the long-term care homes in the province, so it was pretty special. Director of Economic Development, Tourism and Culture, Savannah Myers, shared that the memorandum of understanding are all signed, so we know about that. Meaford and Georgian Bluffs were thanked by Mayor Boddy for our support during the recent boil watery advisory from Owen Sound, which, as we know, impacted our residents in Leith. A presentation from Hilary Thurston, the local immigration partnership supervisor, was next. County Council led this provincially funded initiative for the first 5 years, and now Bruce County has taken the lead. The current action plan includes a foundational settlement strategy developed from listening sessions designed to foster community collaborations and partnerships with a shared commitment to diversity and belonging. So they've done a lot really to help our newcomers. The age-friendly master plan progress report was received for information, and it included some minor amendments designed not to impact the intent of the upcoming implementation process. The focus is on actions working towards safe, accessible spaces for people of all ages. By 2035, 1 in 3 Grey County residents will be over 65. The number of people over 85 in Grey is expected to double, so we're all going to live a long life. The plan is ambitious, with 119 actions shaped by a committee of over 700 participants and 20 organizations. A few successes include the paramedicine home visitation program, our virtual courtroom, CFE rail resurfacing, and the Indigenous Circle at Grey Roots. The Provincial Offences Court annual report delivered by Court Manager Kokas revealed that ticket volumes are stable, with 11,796 issued in 2025, mostly speeding, distracted driving, and liquor-related offences. The need for interpreters has risen. The virtual courtroom is a popular option, and court security is a significant additional expense. An armed officer is required by the province now to be present at all times. The Green Development Program report was supported by several letters of support. One came from our own Meaford Sinclair Homes at Bay Bounds. And that, I think I've spoken to that before, but that's a volunteer opportunity for builders to get points through this program that they can use to promote their own home building. The Urban Roads Exchange proposal is facing many challenges, which we know. Municipalities are generally concerned about the timing of the downloads and uploads and the funding model, along with consideration for below the road infrastructure and ongoing maintenance, which Tori very aptly spoke to in her report. In the end, it was decided to resume discussions at the task force level in an attempt to provide more acceptable recommendations. Okay, so that's pretty much it for that meeting. And if there's no questions, I'll move into the April 9th meeting, which was last week. It was an unusually short meeting, started at 10 a.m. sharp and we adjourned at 11:14. Savannah Myers shared that that was Archives Awareness Week. And if anybody's looking to do any research, Karen Noble is really amazing at Grave Roots and is an excellent resource. Al Leach, Vice President of the Saugeen Valley Children's Safety Farm, delivered his annual update. He's very grateful for the financial support provided by Grey County. Over the past 10 years, Council has donated over $50,000 and is recognized on their wall of armor. The goal of the farm is to reduce childhood accidents and deaths. Unintended injuries kill more youth than all other causes combined. Over 12,000 children have attended the site since 2021, and safety programs are delivered to schools, including our own GBCS. The updated election protocol was provided for County Council. Even though operatives are not involved in the election process, they are required to have a policy, which includes the acknowledgement that staff cannot be involved or connected with campaigns in any way, nor can county resources such as printing be accessed. And the report also talked about placement of election signs in relation to county properties. The next report involved tax policies, specifically as it relates to the final reduction of the multi-residential rate. So that now the multi-res is all at 1%, the same as residential, because for a number of years, existing multi-res was taxed higher than new multi-res, and that didn't make sense. So over the past 4 years, we've gradually dropped that rate. The change in ratio does not impact the overall tax levy. It just means that the reduced rate for multi-res is dispersed over the other 10 classes. There's still no reassessment announcement. We know that. The residential class composes 74.85% of the current value assessment at the county and makes up 82.62% of the county levy. The shift to the multi-res at 1% makes a difference to Meaford of 0.03% of the levy that we will owe Grey County. So not a big difference, but something positive. The annual county strat plan status report was presented. The theme is working together for success. The plan covered the time frame from 2024 to 2027 with 4 pillars: internal operations, building communities for the future, workforce development, and giving everyone a place to call home. The plan identifies 77 actionable goals, 25 of which are completed. 50 are in various stages of progress and 2 are not yet started because of limited staff resources. And we expect that most of the 50 in progress will be completed. The active OLT list at the county indicated that there are 2 files, both from TBM. The first is the Noka Camperdown, and the second is Thornberry Acres, which we've heard about before. But this proposal is 31 residential units, along with a significant portion of specialty ag lands. And the idea is that these residents will farm these lands. The application was submitted before the adoption of the county's new official plan amendment 23. Therefore, the OLT approved the request from the developer to combine the percentage of agricultural and recreational use rather than considering those uses separately. So that's how they got through the OLT, because OPA 23 requires that 70% of the lands be used for either ag or recreational purposes. So they got under that wire. So the new OPA would also only allow 4 residences where they have 31. The county's continuing to fight this at the OLT on the number of condominium units. We find this one really interesting, so I'm sure I'll be back to you to talk about that one. And that's it, Your Worship, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Deputy Mayor? Okay, Councillor Greenfield, do you have an accessibility advisory committee?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kettner. It's a brief report, and then I do have a source water protection report I'd like to run by you too. The accessibility committee briefly were and I think our CAO, Mr. Everett, mentioned this pertaining to the new website. We were the first to hear about the new website. Holly Maroney and by remote, the people from Tenzing, I hope I've got that right, ran us through the new website presentation. The accessibility committee had a lot of really interesting questions. I was quite overwhelmed by their knowledge of computerization, and we spent most of our 2-hour session just quizzing Holly and the website people, and that was about it for the meeting. My source water protection report is a little bit longer, Your Worship. I'll try to be brief. We met on Friday, March 27th, which I think was the same date the Army base held a gathering, and I was disappointed that I couldn't get to it, but this meeting I did want to go to. A number of things. The Source Water Protection Committee, which represents Saugeen Valley, Grey Sauble, and North Bruce Peninsula, were all very, very upset about the situation with our Lake Huron Regional Conservation Authority and the amalgamation of four authorities into one. As Councillor Urick mentioned, that's over 70 municipalities, and in a huge area. We did pass at least second recommendation opposing the amalgamation of the conservation authorities. Were quite upset. It's so contradictory to Justice O'Connor's Walkerton inquiry report, suggesting that watershed-based drinking water source protection planning at the local level by those most directly affected, and I certainly can understand how this joining into this huge region is going to help. And Councillor Uri gave a very good example earlier today. This is someone in the Lake Simcoe area really going to be that concerned about the Big Head River situation. Durham, the town of Durham is it's located on an ancient barrier reef. Okay, I didn't know they had barrier reefs in Durham, but anyway, apparently, and they've been drilling a well, a new well there. It has been drilled. This is primarily to service the new Rockwood Terrace. This is the The main reasons for drilling this well, it's coming in very strong. But it's going to mean, because it's a fair distance away from the two present wells, it's north of them. And they're finding, I mentioned this before, I think that upon the drilling of this new well, they're finding the karst topography underground. They always thought underground water ran east and west. It does, but it also runs north and south, and that's what's feeding this this new well. That's going to mean that the wellhead protection area in Durham is going to have to be expanded. There are I think 49 different entities that will fall into the new wellhead protection. Most of them have to do with fuel storage, some salt storage, some septic systems. I didn't know they would have individual septic systems in downtown Durham, but apparently they do. So that area is going to have to be expanded. I think I had something. It's something here about the. We keep hearing every now and again about future development down in the Kimberley area, the old ski tool area, and that and so there's been a lot of work going on there the last couple of years now concerning the water situation there. A lot of that is a lot of the supply there is due to artesian wells on the ski hill area, and there was a situation last August where some of the levels spiked somewhat, exposing an increase in the dangerous ingredients, and that caused a bit of alarm. Now everything seems to be fine. Everything has leveled out, but it's been quite a puzzle to the studies there. So there's always lots of things going on. I'm not sure if Tiverton is a town or a village, but they're still trying to decide whether they're going to go for a new well or extend a water line from Kincardine, and that seems to be the most practical solution. But there again, when you get water from another area, as we had a couple of weeks ago with Leith and Owen Sound, there's always that chance. So now, anyway, I'll wrap it up with that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. Is there any other report from another board or committee? Go ahead, Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The Grey County Farm Safety met on March the 26th, and it was the evening when we selected our new topics for poster contests for the upcoming year. And with the poster contest being our #1 outreach to young people, we've increased the prize money so that when you look at fall fair brochures and it talks about that, how much money you get for doing a poster up, Grey County Farm Safety is the #1 moneymaker for somebody who's winner. To the end on money, saying this as kindly as I can, I asked the treasurer down at the Farm Safety, I didn't see any money coming from the municipality of Meaford. And anyway, the further conversation was that I said, well, it was approved at our council and we're going to be supporting Grey County Farm Safety. And the chair said at the time, well, we'll just leave it then that the check is in the mail. That's the best that I can put it to our current staff within the room. But anyway, they are looking forward to getting that financial support. And anyway, it's a good meeting overall, and the posters that we do get in to judge, if you look at the horseshoe here, the surface area, that's about the surface area we have coming in from young people doing their posters. And Councillor Greenfield, when you served on the Grey County Farm Safety, you know that there's some outstanding artwork coming from the minds of the young people. And it's really interesting to see. We had one in particular, it was for children in basically grade 1 and grade 2, and it was the dangers of heavy farm equipment. And it was typical of those young people's minds. They drew large tractors, large skid steers, and then they did a little tiny stick person on the inside. And you could tell that was exactly the age group, and it was consistent thinking. Big equipment, little people. And that's what we wanted to see. And it's nice to see that. And as the artwork gets from older individuals, there's some pretty artistic individuals in the school system. So anyway, thanks. That's my report, and they are looking for the check in the mail. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any meetings of the library board that, no? Okay. So, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, with Easter skipping a week there, then there's lots of reports coming in because I've got a couple. And this is going to be on the heels of Councillor Greenfield, because prior to the GSCA meeting on March 25th, there was a Source Protection Authority meeting. Per the Clean Water and Building Code Acts, 67 of the 350 septic systems in the region were inspected in 2025, with 20 requiring minor maintenance and 2 having to be replaced. 100% of the significant drinking water threat policies have been implemented, and of these, 86 have been fully implemented and 6% require further action. The remainder in progress, which is 8%, and are salt-related activities that were recently amended in the Source Protection Plan due to 2021 technical rule changes. And of course, that led to discussions to the proposed Conservation Authority amalgamations and how it would also impact the SPAs as well as the CAs. No one's clear as to whether they will join the larger bodies or continue as independent bodies. Justice O'Connor's Walkerton inquiry report was cited as a recommended watershed-based drinking water source protection planning needs to be conducted at the local level. So there's a lot of concerns from the SPAs as well. That morphed into the GSCA meeting, and the board received a report on the administration building renovations. They're getting very near completion on time and on budget, and staff expect to move back into the building May 31st. So they're quite excited about that. There was also a report on the GSCA's investment portfolio, and while everything is positive, it also prompted further conversations regarding how such investments would be absorbed and managed through the amalgamation, as many of the CAs have their own portfolios, providers, and risk management strategies. So there's no current transparency how these will be merged. Everything is just trickle effect. The discussion around the amalgamation continued, with CAO Lanthier reporting that the ERO received over 14,000 comments, of which 97% were opposed. By comparison, when they did the Greenbelt ERO, they received about 4,000 comments, so this is definitely a hot button topic. The revised plan to create 9, not 7 CAs means our region will not be joining the Thunder Bay region, which is good news. The bad news is still going to be going from that 8 to 70 municipalities, covering from Lake Simcoe to Port Stanley. So local representation, even with the proposed local watershed councils, is still a concern. Participating municipalities to change from lower tier to upper tier for funding and governance, and the MECP implemented a new freeze on CA fees until the amalgamation. A steering committee comprised of the CAO and 1 board member from each existing CA will be struck to strategize the implementation, with February 27th being the proposed time frame to establish the 9 new CAs. And finally, with the dissolution of the Grace Elbow Conservation Foundation, some of their initiatives will be absorbed by GSCA or canceled. The Earth Film Festival and Environmental Conservation Awards will continue, as part of GSEA's environmental education programming. Unfortunately, the annual Earth Day hike, which was specific to Meaford, with approximately 750 GBCS students participating, will be discontinued. Hopefully, other sponsorship will be found to continue this initiative. The other program that is affected is the Memorial Forest Program. The GSDA properties are near capacity, and the board discussed having the program decentralized, with hopefully each municipality considering doing their own memorial forest. So that's something that we may be bringing to council for conversation about developing our own memorial forest, because that won't be considering under or continuing under the same auspice. That was it for Gray Sauble, and the Gray Bruce OPB Detachment Board meeting was also held on March 24th. The board received a final report on the 2025 budget. There was an $8,500 surplus, and a member brought forward a notice of motion to consider municipal fees to be paid proportionately to geographic size and population. The board asked for a report on the per diem rates for the board members as they wish to reevaluate the amounts based on other Gray Bruce comparators. There was an interesting report regarding the recent Zone 5 meeting. We just talked about the advisory committees and the concerns they have about participation. Sadly, there was very little to report, as the local attendees advised that most of the meeting was spent discussing quorum and the ongoing lack of attendance. This raised the question as to whether Zone 5 meetings were worth attending in their current iteration. The board recommended sending a letter expressing its concern about the value of the meetings and suggesting more stringent attendance requirements in the future. So we're not alone in terms of participation. Finally, the board discussed the recent rescue of the 23 fishermen from the ice off Owen Sound. The detachment commander advised that the OPP does not charge back costs for emergency rescues and that no chargeable offense is applied. Subsequent discussions recommending governmental agencies consider setting closing dates for being on the ice. I don't know if we do that. I don't know. We don't believe we do that currently, but that's something that should be adopted based on obviously working with the CAs and where the ice levels are. They also recommended encouraging local municipalities to implement local bylaws that would enable charging fines for such situations, as there are already municipalities in Ontario that have such legislation in place, and that they can fine back for their EMS that are having to kind of work to rescue these people. So something we might consider as well. And that's all for that.
Thank you. Any other reports? Then I need a motion to move out of committee of the whole. Moved by Councillor Greenfield, seconded by Councillor Urick. All in favor? And we did that at 3:05 p.m. Councillor motions, any notices of motion? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And following the comments from Director Perry Maybedaw, the motion will request a report from staff regarding a review of our current gravel road maintenance standards, inclusive of the frequency of granular application, as well as a review of our current practices in addressing potholes on gravel roads.
Thank you. And Councillor Urick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I previously mentioned at the start of the meeting under announcements about the farmerettes. This has opened a much broader conversation just about that historical aspect that has a real agricultural and military bent in young women in our country. And it is kind of disgusting. When we were at the military base parade, I asked the CO whether he knew anything about the farmerettes. He did not. I asked the MPP whether he knew anything about the farmerettes. He did not. I want to bring forward a motion that's going to hopefully prompt Ontario and federal governments to strive for more recognition of that initiative, as well as Bonnie Sitter is her real hope is this is taught somehow in future curriculums, so that these young girls who are now women, older individuals in society that won't be around much longer might actually be recognized for future generations.
Thank you. And we do have today a motion for decision from Deputy Mayor Keaveney. So if you would like to read your motion, then we'll get a seconder for you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I will move and read the motion, which is support for TIF to MIF. Whereas the Meaford Culture Foundation, MCF, has successfully produced the Meaford International Film Festival, known as MIF, for 20 years now. And whereas MIF has contributed significant economic development benefits to the broader business community. And whereas MIF allows MCF to sponsor many different community events at Meaford Hall and elsewhere. And whereas Council of the Municipality of Meaford is supporting MIF in 2026 with a 35% subsidy to the Meaford Hall community rental rate. And whereas MCF wishes to expand the MIF profile with additional film events entitled TIFF Before MIF. Whereas MCF provided a presentation to the Council of the Municipality of Meaford on March 23rd, 2026, requesting that the 35% subsidy to the Meaford Hall community rental rate be extended to TIFF Before MIF events. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the continuation of the 35% reduction to the applicable fees and charges for MCF's TIFF Before MIF film events. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory, Mr. Mayor. I'll turn it back to you.
So, just Meaford Culture Foundation is MCF. I need a seconder for the motion. Councillor Bell, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Greenfield?
A question, Your Worship, and maybe the deputy mayor can help me out with this. I understand at the Toronto International Film Festival, quite often there are genuine Bollywood actors attend, and I'm just wondering, is there any chance that maybe there would be some spillover to our area with this inclusion?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know the answer to your question, Councillor Greenfield, but we know at MIF that there's always interviews with often the director or a member of the cast of the film. So I would expect that that practice may continue with the TIFF Before MIF, but I'm not certain on that. I know Councillor Uri could answer it, but he's not in the room.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? And that is passed unanimously. Thank you. Yes, come on back, Councillor Uri. The motion was successful. Adoption of minutes. The recommendation is be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopt the minutes of the council meetings held on March 16th, 2026 and March 23rd, 2026, and the closed meeting held on March 23, 2026. Can I have a mover and seconder for that, Councillor Border and Councillor Uri? And I think actually I'll defer here to Clerk. Am I getting each of these voted on individually? I think this is just no. This is just simply to acknowledge these reports, and I think I'm. These just if anybody wants to raise an issue, they're more than welcome. Correct?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, correct.
Thank you. Okay, so there's I don't think I'm going to read them all. There's a number of reports there. We did get a report on the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board. We do need to vote on these minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, my apologies. There are 3 sets of minutes and we have a mover and a seconder. So if there are no errors or omissions, then just a simple vote to accept them, to approve them.
Thank you.
We can move forward.
So the vote on this motion, all in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. So I accidentally skipped into the communications from the past recommendation there. So anything on these communication items that anyone wants to raise or ask a question? I wouldn't mind asking a question if I could of Councillor Forder, and that has to do with the Owen Sound and North Grey Union Public Library, their request for that we consider a budget more than a 4% increase, which is our agreement. And I wondered, I read those minutes and I thought I didn't really see any conclusion as to whether or not, like how you're going to deal with this problem.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you, be happy to answer that. So the library board has formed a subcommittee, to deal with this. So that's currently being prepared as we speak. Of course, the, Owen Sound North Grey Union Public Library did come to us within the current contract to ask for a much larger increase than what was in the current contract. And we declined, and they came back to us with something that was less high, but still higher than what was agreed, and we stood firm with the 4%. So that stands for the remainder of the current contract. And we do have a library board meeting coming up on Wednesday this week. And so I'm looking for more information then.
Thanks. I did note that the other members of the other library boards that have agreements all agreed to more than a 4% increase. So sort of singles Meaford out differently. So anyway, it sounds like an issue for the next council. So anything else on that? Now we're going to be moving into a closed session shortly, and it has to do with the Community Builder Award. Be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford does now go into a closed session at 3:15 p.m. with the CAO, Clerk, and Director of Community Services in attendance to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. That's under Open Meeting Exemption B of Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001, respecting nominations for the Community Builder Award. So we will be back following that with a confirming bylaw and wrapping up the meeting. Mover and a seconder. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And your worship, just to clarify, the CAO won't be joining the closed session. It'll be the deputy CAO. So we'll just amend the motion for that.
So sorry, I didn't.
The deputy CAO will be joining rather than the CAO. So we'll just amend that as part of the motion, and then we'll need a mover and a seconder and a vote to go into closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm gonna turn.
My apologies. We still need a mover and a seconder and a vote to go into closed, please.
Moved by Councillor Greenfield, seconded by Councillor Uhrig. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. So welcome back, everyone. Reporting out from the closed section. The closed session with the Deputy CAO, the clerk, and Director of Community Services in attendance to discuss the nominations for the Community Builder Award. That was the only matter that was discussed. And we're wrapping this up at 3:31. Now we have a confirming bylaw. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2026-31, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Greenfield and Deputy Mayor Keaveney. All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. And with that, we'll adjourn today's meeting.